Well, I'm standing in the middle of a hop field, and I'm here with Natascha from Rogue Hop Yard, and we're close to Independence. And tell us what Independence, the name of Independence, what it means here.
Independence is known as the historic hop capital of the world.
Wow.
There were over 20,000 acres being grown here in the late 1800s.
And that's just absolutely amazing. And in this field here, there are hop vines, which, let's be honest, beer would be hard to be made without hops.
Very true.
So these are huge and beautiful. Let's talk a little bit about this plant and how you grow it, some of the things that happen, and the hops themselves.
Sure. Well, they're actually hop vines. So grapes grow on vines and hops grow on vines.
Vines with a B, like
with
boy.
A B, yes.
Vines.
And they differ very much in that a hop vine has little hairs or barbs that help it grow, whereas a vine has little suckers to help it grow. One grows clockwise, the other grows counterclockwise.
Really?
Yeah, and they're perennials, so they're going to grow, come back year after year. When you plant hops, often you'll plant a rhizome, so it's a root, and you plant that and it'll grow the first year, not to its fullest. The second year is better. By the third year, you're going to get the yield that you want from your plant.
And these have to be, this looks, what is this, 12, 15 feet tall, the way they're grown?
21 feet.
I was way off. And so I'm assuming that there are specific machines that harvest these. It's not done by hand anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah, starting in the 1950s, we started harvesting through mechanization, and we have big machines that drive through. They cut the bottom where they cut the vine and the string that it's growing up, and then another machine comes through and cuts the top, and then the whole section will fall into a truck, which then goes to our processing facility.
Well, and you know, Natascha, these really look kind of healthy to me. They're beautiful and green, covered with fruit. Is there a lot of problems growing them, or do you find that they're a relatively easy vine to grow?
This is the place in the world where they grow best.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do too much. They are on drip irrigation, which helps. And they grow well here because we have really long days of sunshine and we have nice mild winters.
Nice.
We do a little bit of maintenance, but for the most part, they're just doing what they do best.
The real work starts at this time of year, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that real work, we're going to take a walk over and go to talk to Josh now and see how these things are harvested, dried, and shipped out to make beer with. Well, now I am standing here with Josh, who is the head brewer and beekeeper here at the Rogue Hop Yard. Now, tell me a little bit about what's going on here.
Well, the hops have come in off the trucks. You can see the trucks right here. And we're hooking them into the processing facility where they're going into the machinery, where we have a series of steps that are going to separate the cones from everything else. So the cones are going to move on to the next step. All the debris, the leaves and the vines, are going to be mulched and spread back out on the field.
Now, Josh, this is the cone, right?
Correct.
And there's a couple different ways that you actually use these. This one you're going to be calling like a wet cone, is that what you say to it?
This variety that we're harvesting right now is going to be used in our wet hop ale this year. And that means that these are going to go straight from this picking machine to our brewery in Newport, and we're going to put them straight into the brewing process. Okay. Most of our hops we're going to dry before we use, so that will be the next step of the process.
And so what is it about a hop that helps make beer?
Well, if you look inside the cone, you can actually split it open along its length and look inside. What you're going to see is this yellow powdery stuff.
Yeah.
That's called lupulin. It's a gland, and that lupulin is where all the bitterness is. It's where all the wonderful aromas are. And you can smell that.
Yeah.
You can even taste a little if you want to. It's if you stick your finger in there, it'll stick to your finger. It's very bitter.
Yep.
And that's
bitter.
That's what's going to make the beer good right there, is that lupulin.
Well, let's take a walk over to the other building and see how you guys are doing the drying ones, all right?
Sounds good.
Now, Josh, we are standing in the drying room, and trust me, it's loud because there are some huge engines down there blowing out this heat to dry them.
Yeah, they're going to be putting air out at about 145 degrees. The hops are layered into these chambers behind us, about 32 inches deep.
Wow.
And they'll sit in there for about 8 to 10 hours and dry.
And Josh, I can feel the moisture in the air. I mean, it's really amazing.
Yeah, it's like a hop sauna in here. They go from 80% moisture down to 9% in about 10 hours.
Now, once all that, and about how long does that take?
About 8 to 10 hours.
8 to 10 hours. And once that's done, then what happens to them?
Then they're going to be moved over to the next building where they're allowed to cool and stabilize for about 24 hours. Then we bale them. We'll compress them into 200-pound bales that are then ready to store until we're ready to use them to brew our ales and lagers.
And the Rogue beer is actually brewed right in Newport, isn't it?
Correct.
And it's not just the hops. You grow a lot of the things that you use in beer.
Exactly, yeah. We have 225 acres of barley out in Tye Valley. That goes into our ales, goes into our lagers, and goes into the line of spirits that we produce.
Well, you know, if you live in the Northwest, you love living here, and it really does me proud to know that there's a great beer that's made right in this area. It helps the economy, and it's delicious. So if you would like to buy some Rogue or find out where you can go to one of their meeting halls, you can go to gardentime.tv. We'll click you over to the Rogue website. Josh, thank you so much. It's been very, very delightful.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming out to the farm.
All right.